It's time for our daily dose of cope. And this segment is brought to us by the Real House Leopards of DC. And they're saying, "'Twas the time of FAFO." All right, y'all, let's jump into some of these stories. All right, so we're going to start out with this man named Michael Levy. He's responding to Barack Obama. Barack Obama says, "Thanks for voting today and making your voice heard." And to that, Mike says, "You're welcome. I'm glad America stopped the woke left. Now the real work begins." Then, on a post where Taylor Swift was talking about the Eras tour, he said back in November, "Don't forget, America, Taylor endorsed Kamala Harris, who would have hurt the American people more than the Biden administration, the same Americans that buy her tickets. Let that sink in." Then on February 27th, he says, "WTF, Donald? Are you playing games with people? Did you invite podcasters to the White House just to play games? This stuff is not funny. If you're not going to get the Epstein files released, just say so. Please don't play these games." There is a reason why he didn't release the Epstein files, Mike. Now we have a Dear Don letter. "Dear Don, the economy needs urgent attention. I voted for you, believing in change, but jobs are disappearing. Companies are hemorrhaging money and laying off workers, forcing them to sign NDAs to avoid lawsuits. My wife, despite stellar performance reviews, was let go, partly because her company went woke, but mostly due to financial losses. Many businesses are struggling, and Americans are hurting worse now than under Biden. I know recovery takes time and pain, but you're not feeling the squeeze like we are, wondering if we can pay bills or afford groceries. Your administration needs a miracle. I'm praying God grants you one." So with that being said, this is the reason why I said that these people need to hurt for 2 to 3 years, because this man is still on board. He's still not feeling it enough. He's not stressed enough. He would vote for Donald Trump again, even knowing what he knows. Here we have a Facebook post from a man named Julius. Julius says, "I voted for Trump twice. I think I made a mistake. Trump is isolating the U.S. from our long-term allies, Canada, England, and Australia. Trump said he would not touch the VA. Not only did he touch it, he's stomping the crap out of it. Yes, the VA had its problems, but now it's a sinking ship, and all the vets are going to pay the price. I believe his butt is overriding his mouth. We are going to buy Greenland. Canada will be our 51st state. Just plain stupid," in quotes, stupid talk. It doesn't require quotes. It is stupid. What does Leon Scum have to do with the VA? I don't know, but I do believe that they are trying to make people expire. They want people gone. They're going to disappear people. That's the reason why they are snatching food out of the mouths of the elderly, out of the VA, out of kids. They want people gone. They want a purge, I believe. The caption at the bottom says, "Florida man, rubber duck importer, and Trump voter is having some buyer's remorse." All right, so the Reuters headline says, "Donald Trump's tariffs have hit many U.S. businesses, including Steve Egan's, a promotional product salesman and Trump voter. Egan said dealing with a Chinese vendor is now a major challenge, a concern shared by many voters in a Reuters survey on the first 100 days of Trump's presidency." So he's out here doing the serious work of importing rubber ducks, and now it's a challenge because we all need these rubber ducks. So I am totally sure that we're going to get this deal done. The title on this says, "Three-time Trump voter is sad that her Trump-loving husband will get laid off, but was fine with Doge making cuts a month prior." Okay, so Ellie says on February 26th that, "Then you should vote for Trump and demand government stop sending money elsewhere so you can keep working. This is like being mad at the teacher, in this case Doge, for the consequence when it's the parent's fault, government. So she is calling Doge the teacher." Then, April 2nd, Ellie says, "My American Trump-loving husband will now lose his job at the Japanese car plant here in Ohio. Very sad day for us. They said many cuts coming." So that was April 2nd. She has a sad. And then she's responding to Eric. Eric says, "It's Tuesday, April 8th. It's a great day to not be a panicking." And Ellie says, "My husband has 3 weeks to find out if laid off. Don't be a jerk. This really sucks. And we voted for Trump 3 times." Her husband might get laid off because tariffs. Tariffs are hurting businesses, big and small, and these people voted for tariffs. And Donald Trump even said so in an interview that he had with ABC. The interviewer on ABC, Moran, says, even some people who voted for you are saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns? And to that, Trump says, well, they did sign up for it actually. And they honestly did because he talked about tariffs on the campaign trail. So some of the comments under this blue sky post, Jack says, does he have the mental acuity to stop and think about the question posed to him prior to exerting his overconfident verbal diarrhea? And so then she gives this this picture that says, forget Trump, forget MAGA. And she did not use the word forget. And then this person, Schadenfreude, says, I hate to agree with him, but he told us for months that he was going to do this. You idiots, meaning MAGA, you idiots should have listened. Miss Messi says, well, I'll be damned. I agree with him. And then Midnight Sun says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's right. He was very plain about the things that he was going to do. And then he did it. And now people are like, what is this? This is hurting me. Like, this is what he said he was going to do. And he has already done the Trump tariffs in Trump 1.0. He's doing it again. Here's an article from the Business Insider, just a couple of points. Trump dismisses backlash to tariffs, saying this is what people voted for. Trump's tariff policy has sparked fear and uncertainty in the markets, but Trump said voters should have expected him to impose tariffs when they backed him in November. Well, they did sign up for it actually, and this is what I campaigned on, Trump said. He keeps talking about being abused by other countries when we go into other countries and we give them democracy while taking their resources. But okay, at the bottom it says, we've been abused by other countries at levels nobody's ever seen before. Okay, Trump. On April 2nd, Trump announced sweeping tariffs on more than 180 countries. A 10% baseline rate took effect on April 5th. A higher set of tariffs, which varied by country, went into effect on April 9th before Trump announced a 90-day pause on the same day. Trump's on-again, off-again tariff announcements sparked a massive market sell-off and were also criticized by economists and business leaders. Trump, however, said his tariffs on America's trading partners were a necessary measure. So I don't know if he's going to back down or whatnot, but he is impacting people in serious ways. In Trump 1.0, it caused a lot of farmer self-deletions, and that is picking up again. And that takes me to this very serious article out of Utah. It literally just dropped. Utah farmers signed up for federally funded therapy, then the money stopped. Farmers are dying by self-deletion at the third highest rate by vocation in Utah. But after a federal program offering mental health support ran out of money, the state did not continue it. All right, I'm going to read some of this article. Josh Dolan spends his workdays talking to Utahns who raise cattle and grow crops and knew that many were in distress. Everyone from neighbors to fertilizer dealers to equipment suppliers were telling him they were worried that a farmer or a rancher they knew was at risk of self-deletion. Then in 2023, with money allocated by Congress, Dolan had new help to offer. As executive director of an agriculture center at Utah State University Extension, he has scores of $2,000 vouchers that Utahns working in agriculture could use to get free therapy. Dolan feared no one in the typically stoical farming community would take him up on the federally funded offer. He was wrong. Farmers and ranchers across Utah quickly accepted the money, which ran out in just 4 months, well before he expected, and his office had to start turning people away. It convinced Dolan of the deep need in the state's agriculture communities and people's openness to getting help when cost is not a barrier. I want you to know, he recalled one voucher recipient telling him, that this has saved my life. It was heartbreaking, he said, to have to put the brakes on the program. The money for the vouchers was part of a one-time $28 million allocation sent to states to help Americans producing food handle the extra stresses of the coronavirus pandemic. Any state that applied to the U.S. Department of Agriculture was awarded up to $500,000, which was used to hold trainings, start hotlines staffed by mental health providers, and, like in Utah, provide therapy. With that funding now mostly spent, leaders in some states have tapped state funds or leaned on private donors to ensure mental health support continues. And as we know, Doge is axing things, and in this state, he goes on to say there are no state funds coming. So this program is basically axed, and these people will go back to needing therapy or self-deleting. This is a terrible situation, but this is what they voted for, unfortunately. All right, y'all. I'm going to end it there. Join the conversation. Tell me what you think. Like, comment.